Does the Eagle Claw bolt thrower soar higher in Tides of Torment? One of you asked, and since we did Skycutters and there's a lot of shared text, let's get into it, because I know some sentiment is that you should never recruit this unit again because Skycutters exist. Well, let's look at that, because I'm pretty confident there's a big cost difference, and sometimes a cheap infantry mulcher is just what the Lore Master ordered, because he's hitting in next. Recruit for 700 gold and 175 upkeep. On Ultra, this gets you 4 throwers at 3,536 health. Armor is 40, leadership 75, speed 22, cannot run while the artillery is in use, melee attack 10, melee defense 15, anemic damage stats, charge bonus 2, mass 2,000 per thrower. I'm mentioning these stats because the unit does have martial prowess, and melee defense 27 on artillery until it's below 25% health and no longer combat relevant may be the difference between holding out against a Clan Rat's menace below summons and not. Maybe the cavalry gets there and maybe it doesn't. For ranged, ammunition 24 is fairly generous as these things go. Range is 380 meters default. Missile damage is officially 125 averaged out to 10 seconds. Each long rod style bolt, that's a modern tank-fired anti-tank munition reference, does base 30 and armor piercing 120 when striking, with a damage bonus versus large targets of 50. So, 150 becomes 200. In melee, these bonuses are according to the base to AP ratio. We might assume it's the same here. Reload time 12 default, total accuracy 50, where the base is 20, calibration distance 275 is pretty decent before extra inaccuracy takes over. Calibration area 4 meters is modified by accuracy and increases thereof, so it's pretty accurate if attacking big stuff, and a large penetration cap with a maximum of targets penned after the first of 2, meaning that it can hit up to 3 infantry or perhaps cavalry, even if spaced a generous amount apart at minimum. Of course, the arc is going to make sure that you can't hit infinite amounts of units regardless. I'm bringing up the Skycutter Bolt Thrower variant for comparison. What do you see here? A third shaved off the ammo, less range, less damage, less bonus versus large. Those are major negative points. What do you see? Lower reload time, and the Skycutters didn't lose anything from accuracy or calibration area despite being far whilst moving aerial chariots. So, they have some nice points, but for pure sitting in place and shredding enemy infantry, both throwers need not be forgotten. Also, the range advantage will mean something in certain situations. I'll throw up the stats for multi-shot from the Eagle Claw both throwers, but the TLDR is that since this is artillery, big tower shields are meaningless. Given that this is the High Elves faction, you're combining this with archers of some sort, so there's no need to worry about annihilating units with both throwers alone. You can leave the scraps for the archers. The combination of the two means artillery morale penalties apply, and the damage absolutely adds up. You will also see that in a ranked 0 default state, the spread on the multi-shot is quite large. In the redline skills, Bowmaster at 3 pips grants ammunition plus 20%, but does not apply its reload time reduction to the artillery. All aspects of favorable wins apply to rank 7 and up throwers, so armor plus 10, missile strength plus 12, and missile resistance plus 15%. In the tech tree, cartridge ammunition is our venerable salvation, offering ammunition plus 10% and reload time reduction plus 10% as well. What's new is the tech right after it, enchanted projectiles, granting missile strength plus 10%, and shield breaker missiles. Shield breaker means minus 24% missile block chance for whomever you're hitting, which all of a sudden makes the aforementioned archers combining with the bolt throwers that much deadlier against well-shielded opponents. I'm not seeing anything else, but I'm sure there'll be Lord and Hero boosts to help. This is good enough for a baseline. How do we use the Eagle Claw bolt thrower? Since this was the faction's only source of bolt thrower artillery until now, you really didn't have an alternative for serious siegecraft until you got high-tier monsters. They're not cannons, and they're not mortars. They will help clear walls, but they won't be the most effective at it, though Shield Breaker by itself means that any AI actually defending the walls, which it doesn't always do until you commit to ladders, will be aggrieved even more by your ever-present archers. This is a good thing for you. So, in sieges they're nigh indispensable, and you probably want dedicated siege armies to have a decent number, and for a legendary lord army, a couple might be fine. For field battles generally, they're helpful, but also their very nature helps you avoid overcommitment to something vulnerable, because its damage output is capped by the time enemies remain in its range, and when enemies can somehow loop behind you and take one out, or 3 or 4 if you're not careful. They're good against infantry, and many people have found the heavy bolts historically underwhelming, but I believe they truly shine against monstrous infantry and heavily packed cavalry units. Either way, they'll tax your enemies, taking a chunk for the Phoenix King, and leaving the rest to your mobile elements to mop up. They are good, they are reliable, they are not that expensive in a roster that gets expensive, and 380 range is nothing to sneer at, even by High Elves. So with all due respect, no, this is not a unit you should quote never recruit unquote, especially since slapping a couple onto lower end armies is a lot easier than sparing Skycutters. Let them do light artillery things and use the rest of your forces for whatever they do well. Spearmen and archers are good. Spearmen and archers plus a pair of bolt thrower units are better. That's all that really matters here. Just keep in mind that unlike pure archers, they really would like to preserve line of sight to their targets. That'll matter when troops get engaged, but if you're not fighting Khorne, pelting enemy archers is not exactly a bad thing, and let's be blunt, even if low health made this less of the advantage it seemed on paper, dark shards with shields were still annoying in archer duels, and shield breaker is going to tilt that fight toward High Elves a lot. Take care, and have fun letting beefier arrows fly, since a boltus by any other name is really just an arrow anyway.